Oh. Oof. Eh. Ah. Oh, there's a lock. Man. Man, it's cramped in here. Hi, Zizaran here with another video, and today we're going to talk a little bit about content bloat in Path of Exile, what I would remove from the game, and what I think is going to stay for PoE 2. There is a large amount of content in the game right now, and it is very important for me to underline for this video that this is just my opinion, and mostly like mechanics that I personally don't like. We're probably all going to have pretty big differences on what we actually enjoy in the game. So the first one to go for me would probably be Metamorph. I think the catalyst quality things is something you could, well, A, you could easily remove from the game, or B, you could easily put it in any other mechanic as a reward and making it part of making each mechanic very distinctive in what loot it gives. So Metamorph would be the number one thing I would remove. I just don't feel like it adds that much to the game. It's not something I'm particularly excited to see, and 98% of the time I skip it, and obviously I am extra biased here because it's still incredibly rippy. Next up would be Ritual and Ultimatum, and before you gasp, I would love to bundle these two mechanics together and having the Ritual rewards in Ultimatum. I think the Ultimatum system with like choosing to go further and further in waves to get more and more rewards was really good, but I feel like the Ritual part of having 4 altars that literally over double your map time was a little bit too crazy. So I would love to see these two mechanics combined into a Ritual Ultimatum. The ultimate ritual, where there's a combination of both, and you have a chance to visit the Taskmaster or Trial Master, whatever he was called, eventually. I think that would be pretty good and worth keeping in the game. Ritual on its own is a little bit too tedious and too annoying for me. Expedition. Expedition is way too much reward tied behind way too much tedium. Obviously a very popular mechanic, and I know a lot of people have this as their favorite mechanic. It is my least favorite mechanic, and it's extra frustrating because it is so incredibly rewarding. So I almost feel forced to have it at the start of every league. This is how I have my entire early item progression, where I, get item level bases by getting level 90 and then rerolling Rog and Gwenin, and then I'm able to buy everything I want. So I don't know, I've just never really liked Expedition. A part of that is definitely because things like immune to poison, immune to ignite isn't even highlighted in yellow, so you actually have to pay so much attention. It's not something you can just quickly throw down a few things. You actually have to read. I'm not a big fan of to begin with. I would rather see better currency gains in other spots than having it so much tied behind Expedition. It is kind of insane how much it stands out to the rest of the game. Torment. Very, very easy to remove. I feel like it adds pretty much nothing, and it's just like an extra like, oof, well, what can we do with this? Yeah, it doesn't really add much. Beyond, I think should go back the way it was. I think it added a lot more to the game and really added a whole new level of mapping, where it was obviously very cool for Headhunter. And I think the whole like skin thing they did was really cool with changing it to Scourge monsters. I think that was fine, but I don't know why they had to change the entire way it worked. I also think if you're going to keep the bosses in the game, I think they should drop Scourged uniques with only upsides. So that, yeah, it's rare that you're going to get a unique that actually matters, and then it's going to be rare that you get upsides that actually matter. That way, I think they can actually keep the Scourge system and make bosses an actually exciting thing, except, ooh, here comes 3 Tainted Chromatics, with like maybe every 20 bosses dropping a Tainted Fuse and that actually being exciting. I think right now it's not really special enough or does enough that it's warranted to even keep in the game, but I think with a very, very small tuning, Beyond or Scourge could be a really, really cool and exciting part of the game. Heist. A lot of people say they just want Heist gone from the game entirely. I think Heist is actually one of the most special mechanics, and I would not want Heist to go at all. I don't actually enjoy doing Heist. I think it's silly and slow and tedious. I think if you're going to keep Heist with the small contracts in, you should at least have it the way of Deception, where you are breaking your way in, but you don't have to break your way out. Breaking your way in and out is kind of crazy. It just feels very unenjoyable. And maybe have some sort of like something different with the door mechanic where it makes it a little bit more exciting, because it's very similar to some things in Delve where you are just waiting. It's just filler time, but very unenjoyable. Especially the fact that the dude opening the door can get interrupted 10 times with like that green damage over time standing over him. It's not something I enjoy. But what I would really like to see for Heist would be a removal of the normal heists and keep the grand heists. I would also like to see a removal or a change in the leveling system where there's no longer a leveling requirement, and that instead you can always enter a grand heist even if all your levels are 1. They'll gain experience and get faster and get better, but you can just do it and be slower in the start. The level requirement feels very, very annoying, and having to level them up. I think this would just be overall good. Just, you can still have it matter. You can still have it be required level for using the items, and still have the items if you want. But I think having the required level to start the grand heists being removed would be an absolute good. And I think the grand heists are very awesome. I really enjoy them a lot. Yeah, I think it adds a lot to the game. Not necessarily my favorite content, but it's so good in my opinion that it has like a very strong identity. This is where you go for heist items, and you can't get them anywhere else pretty much. Big fan of that. Just having them as like random drops that you could run as they drop, I think that'd be way better. You don't really need the coin system either. Have them drop with between 1 to 4 rooms fully revealed. Don't know if there's a massive reason to keep blight. I think blight maps are good, but I don't know if the blight in maps are necessarily the best thing to keep. The reason I'm thinking like this is because obviously with PoE 2 on the horizon, they're going to be adding more and more map mechanics. It's going to be very hard to have things go core in the game. So maybe having like the very special part of the game go core, not like the in-map mechanic on every single mechanic, is going to be something that could be more useful in the future. Either way, this is just what I like or don't like. Honestly, the entire video is almost mechanics I don't like in Path of Exile, but I guess it's always going to be a bit like that. I would love to hear what you guys think should be removed. What would you, out of the ones I said, what would you be sad if got removed? And what would you yourself like to see removed from the game? So that's the main ones for me, at least. Either way, I hope you guys enjoy these types of thought videos, and yeah, sub if you liked the video, but more importantly, try to die less than I do.